Who doesn't love the sound of a cooing baby or a giggling one when you tickle their feet? Well, back in the 19th century, when those cute sounds turned to cries, where did exhausted parents turn to soothe their unhappy children?
In the 1800s, traditional medicine in the way we have it now didn't exist. There weren't these big pharmaceutical companies. So they had a thing called patent medicine.
Patent medicine is basically the precursor to over-the-counter drugs, and they promise to cure everything, and I do mean everything. Colds, headaches, heartburn, warts, baldness, even tuberculosis and cancer.
If patent medicine is on the label, people have a sense of security about what they're buying. The problem is, there's no guarantee that the maker has any idea about the ingredients they're using.
It's basically like the Wild West of pharmaceuticals. Anyone can concoct sort of anything and claim that it's medicine.
Enter Charlotte Winslow and her son-in-law, Jeremiah Curtis. In 1845, they patent a miracle cure specifically designed for teething babies. They call it Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup.
So Jeremiah Curtis runs a pharmacy, and he takes Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup and starts selling it out to the public.
Part of what makes patent medicine work is testimonials, both word of mouth and in advertising. And Jeremiah Curtis really leans into this.
Jeremiah Curtis places ads in thousands of newspapers across the country. The ads are testimonials. Mothers telling Mrs. Winslow her cure is a miracle.
Not only does he get testimonials from mothers, he even gets testimonials from reverends. Who's gonna go against the word of a reverend?
Sales of Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup take off, and not just because Curtis is a marketing genius. Unlike most patent medicines, this one actually works.
Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup claims to soothe children, soften the gums, cure colic, and be the best cure for diarrhea.
What magical ingredient could it possibly have that could cure all these ails? Well, that ingredient turned out to be morphine. And it's not a different kind of morphine. It's the morphine you know about, the kind they give to, like, people on the battlefield who've gotten gunshots, grown adults.
Because it has morphine in it, it really does offer medical relief. What it lacks is something different, which is a warning label about its side effects.
Morphine is an incredibly powerful painkiller that's derived from opium. Morphine has several side effects. Morphine causes constipation. There's also extreme addiction, drowsiness, respiratory depression, vomiting.
Mrs. Winslow makes bank on this soothing syrup. She is basically selling 1.5 million bottles annually for decades. She is creating a lot of junky babies.
Mrs. Winslow's dosage recommendations was around 6 droplets for newborns, a half teaspoon for babies up to 6 months old, and a full teaspoon for babies over 6 months. And these are to be administered 3 to 4 times a day.
So let's just think about this for a second. Like today, a hospital would give an adult patient 2 to 4 milligrams of morphine to manage extreme pain. These babies are sleeping through the night because they're getting up to 40 milligrams of morphine a day. That's a massive quantity, even by illicit drug trafficking standards. On the black market, morphine might be sold in 30 milligram tablets.
This is before you have the AMA. This is before doctors are a profession. So you don't have this sort of pushback from a medical establishment, which allows for a product like Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup to explode in the marketplace.
Millions of people are buying Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup. They just want their kid to sleep through the night.
This syrup is given to infants that are already in a bad way. They may be sick, they may be teething, which gives them a fever. So it takes decades before doctors figure out that Mrs. Winslow's is doing more harm than good.
Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup wasn't banned until the 1930s, making it one of the longest-selling teething remedies in U.S. history.
For centuries, the very idea of an operation is enough to strike fear into the hearts of patients.
I watch Civil War movies, and there's always some guy with a belt in his mouth or biting on a bullet while some sawbones is just going to town, cutting off that leg and tossing it onto a pile of legs.
It isn't until the late 19th century that doctors find ways to relieve pain during operations.
The first successful surgery with anesthesia is performed in 1846 when a Bostonian dentist uses a gas called ether to sedate a patient.
The following year, an obstetrician in Scotland ended up using chloroform on a patient experiencing labor pains.
In 1863, a New York professor popularizes nitrous oxide.
The problem with all of these, though, is they're all general anesthesia. You're completely knocked out, and you're walking a really fine line between life and death if you administer the wrong dosage.
Doctors are on the lookout for something a little more localized and a little less fatal. And Dr. Karl Kohler from Austria has just the thing: cocaine.
Kohler understands the numbing effects of cocaine and decides to use it in surgery.
The particular thing about Dr. Kohler is that he's an ophthalmologist.
He's injecting cocaine into people's eyeballs. Today, that kind of sounds insane, but at the time, it's revolutionary.
By injecting cocaine directly in the eye, he can stabilize a patient enough to operate in a place where no one could ever operate before.
So William Halsted, an American doctor, hears about this and says, oh, well, if it works with the eye, maybe it works with other parts of the body.
Halsted starts experimenting on himself and then invites colleagues to join him. Pretty soon, they're all injecting their peripheral nerves to see if other parts of the body will go numb, not just their eye.
And they realize, wow, this works, right? This solves a major problem. So they start using cocaine as an anesthesia.
Dr. Halsted thinks he found the holy grail of anesthesiology, except for one little detail.
Halsted and his colleagues become completely addicted to cocaine. 2 of his colleagues die within months.
Halsted himself spends the rest of his life in and out of recovery. Despite the wealth of information that he garners from his investigations, he only publishes 1 paper whose rambling incoherence probably suggests that Halsted was high at the time of writing.
In 1914, the government makes cocaine an illegal substance. But you still have to credit Dr. Halsted. The modern medical field would not be where it is and what it is without him.
The good doctor's risk-taking